Hello everybody, my name's Eric. We are going to do some positioning videos and we are going to start with fingers and hand, okay? Today I have Mikkel, who is my daughter and also works for Sterling. She's running the camera, and we have Kate, who is the general manager over in this area, and we love her. We love Mikkel too. So we're all happy. So let's talk about hands and fingers, okay? So fingers are done PA, which means X-ray energy is going through the posterior of your body and exiting the anterior body, thus making it PA, okay? SID 40 inches. Central ray is over proximal interphalangeal joint, okay? Which is the proximal interphalangeal joint right there. Okay, this would be distal PIP. This is the proximal interphalangeal joint. Okay, so collimation, we need to include the entire finger. And when we're talking fingers, it goes from the tip of your fingers all the way down to where it meets your carpal bones, your wrist bones. Okay, so the phalanges, the metacarpal, and carpal bones. So that entire thing is a finger. Okay, so we need to include the entire finger all the way to the wrist bones, right? We need to involve the adjacent fingers. Okay, so if we are x-raying number 3 here, we need to include number 2 and number 4 in the image for comparison's sake. If we're imaging this, we need to include the thumb and the 3rd finger. Okay, if we're doing a pinky, we just need to include the 4th finger right here. Okay? All right, very good. Technique-wise, 50 to 55 kVp, 2.5 to 3.5 mass is going to put you right where you need to be. Tip for fingers, make sure that your fingers are equal distance apart. Okay, you don't want them crossing fingers or doing skittywampus things. Okay, you want them equal distance so you can see those fingers nicely. And always collimate tightly. The tighter you collimate, the better your picture is. Okay, always use a marker, left or right. Okay, so hand. We're going to be doing a PA oblique and lateral. SID, which is source to image distance, is 40 inches. Okay, we don't want to be shooting these at 72 inches. Central ray is the head of the 3rd metacarpal. Okay, this is the foot of the metacarpal. This is the head of the metacarpal. So our central ray is going to go right there. Okay, collimation, we need to include the entire hand. Okay, all the way from the tip of the phalanges all the way to the carpal bones. Okay, on the sides, we need to get skin margin here, just include the whole hand. Okay, technique-wise, we're very similar to fingers, 50 to 55 kVp, 2.5 to 5 mass. You're going to give it a little bit more mass depending on the size of the patient. Always a tip, always ensure that fingers are equal distance apart, and collimate tight to ensure a good picture. And we'll talk about that when we start positioning right now. Okay, so right hand, we've got Miss Kate, we've got her hand up here on the image receptor. That's what this little thing is called. That's what recepts the image, so it's an image receptor. Okay, so we're going to start with a PA finger. Okay, so we're going to do Kate's middle finger here. Actually, central ray is the proximal interphalangeal joint. So it's in between 2 phalanges, right? So it's an interphalangeal joint. This is the distal interphalangeal. This is the proximal interphalangeal. So our central ray is going to be right there at the proximal interphalangeal joint, right? Okay, and we want to include the whole finger, which we will. Okay, so it's going to go from the tip of the finger all the way down to the metacarpal radial ulnar, well, not radial ulnar, but carpal joint right there. Okay, so we're including that whole thing. You're going to have a little bit of excess up here, and what we're going to use that for is our marker. We're going to put a right marker there. We're entering the posterior of the body, exiting the anterior body, making it a PA. So that is collimated nicely. We've got the adjacent fingers, okay? Kate's fingers are equal distant apart, and that's what we want. Okay, say we are x-raying the pinky. Okay, again, we're using the proximal interphalangeal joint. We're going to get all the way up to the carpal bone, and we've got the end of the finger here. Okay, but adjacent finger. We don't have an adjacent finger on the pinky besides the medial side. So we're just going to include that little piggy there, and we don't have one over here, okay? So there you go. All right, let's do an oblique finger. You guys have probably seen a sponge like this in your clinic. Very handy. People just put their fingers on those little steps, and that automatically puts you in a 45-degree angle, which is what we want. Okay, we're going to do that middle finger again. Proximal interphalangeal joint, PIP joint, however you want to say it. It's in between two phalanges. Okay, and we're going to get the tip all the way down to the carpal bones down here. Okay, we've got both adjacent fingers right here. Fingers are equal distance apart. And with the sponge, it makes it nice and easy. That puts you in a perfect 45-degree angle. Now, if you do not have a sponge, pretty easy to do otherwise. You're just going to pull that hand up halfway between sitting on the IR and halfway between lateral. Okay, 45 degrees. Make sure those fingers are equal distance apart. Proximal PIP joint. You'll be good to go. Okay, there's the oblique. Now lateral, we're going to go straight up and down here. Okay, I'm going to come this way a little bit. Actually, go back. Okay, so say we're doing the middle finger. Okay, we just want to get some fingers out of the way there. Okay, we want to be able to see as much of that finger as we can without superimposition, and that's what we're doing right here. We removed all the fingers around there, okay? And this is a lateral. Make sure that radius is superimposed over the ulna, and that's going to put your hand in a perfect lateral. Because what they're looking for on this picture is if they have a fracture, whether it is anterior or posterior, okay? But yeah, any of those fingers, you can do the same thing. Just move the other fingers out of the way. Central ray is the same. Say we're doing this one, you'll note that that finger is a long ways away from the IR. So we're actually going to turn Kate's hand around, okay? And we'll just do it this way, which is a little harder for the patient. If you have to do it the other way, it's okay. You're just going to have some magnification of that finger, okay? Let's talk thumb for a minute. Put your hand in a PA position. That automatically puts your thumb in an oblique position right here, right? Same idea. We need to be able to see the tip of the finger there all the way to the metacarpal carpal joint. Okay. Now for a lateral, we just turn their hand up. Okay. Or a little trick, just have the patient make a fist, and that turns the thumb up into a lateral position. Okay, either way you can do that. You can see that it's straight up and down. Now, PA, you can bring the thumb up like this and set it down like that, and that will accomplish your PA. Okay, now you'll note that there's some OID, object to source image distance. Okay, we're going to have some magnification of the thumb. To me, that's not a big deal. For some people, it is. If you want to shoot your PA thumb this way, it's okay. Textbook states that we turn the hand over and shoot it AP, okay? Just like that. We're still involving the entire thumb, right? But you can do it either way. Whatever you're more comfortable with, and most importantly, whatever the patient's comfortable with. Okay, let's move on to a hand, okay? So a hand, we need to include the whole hand like we said before. Okay, we're going to collimate as tight as we can down to that hem. I like to move the thumb in a little bit, the pinky in a little bit. Just make sure that they're equal distance apart, and we can collimate in even more. Okay, our central ray is at the head of the third metacarpal. Okay, this is the metacarpal bone phalangeal. Okay, and the head of the metacarpal is right there, that knuckle. Okay, that's where you're aiming for. Right? Very good. and we've got it collimated very nicely. We don't want to shoot anything like this, okay? You're darn sure going to get the parts you need, but your image is probably going to look like crap, okay? Too much scatter radiation. So in order to reduce that scatter radiation, we collimate down tightly, and that patient is getting as little radiation as they can, okay? And it's going to make your picture look really nice. So, okay, you'll note that her fingers are equal distance apart. That's what we want. You'll note that thumb is in an oblique position, and that's okay. Okay, let's do an oblique. I'm going to move this bad boy in there. Okay, now we know that Kate's in a perfect position right there. We're just going to put that central ray right there at the head of the third metacarpal. Okay, we're collimated nicely with the thumb. We're collimated nicely with the fifth digit right here. Okay, we can put our marker right there in the light. We're able to see the carpal radial ulnar joint right here. That's what we want to see. All the way from the tip of the finger to the radial ulnar carpal joint right here. Okay, you'll note that that thumb is in a PA position. Okay, very nice, oblique hand. If we don't have the sponge, same exact thing. Just make those fingers as equally distanced as possible. We got the thumb in a PA, and boom, we're shooting that picture. Just make sure that you've collimated tightly, but you're not cutting anything off. Okay, so last one, we're going to do a lateral hand. Okay, this is called a straight lateral, where the patient's fingers are superimposed over each other. We are going to move that thumb out of the way, okay? So we're going to shoot straight down. And like I said before, we're looking for anterior or posterior fracture with this picture. We've got the tip of the finger all the way to the radial ulnar carpal joint right here, okay? We could actually collimate that down a little bit, kind of like that. Make sure that your marker is in the light field. Very good. Okay, now, we got one more. This is called the spider lateral, and you're not going to find that in any textbook. It's, I don't know if I came up with it, but somebody did, but it's a spider lateral. We're going to have the patient make an OK sign, just like that. And you'll note when Kate made that OK sign, it kind of rotated her wrist down out of a lateral position. It's in more of an oblique. Okay, so a little trick there is place a finger on the anterior side of the radius and the medial side of the posterior side of the ulna, where the ulnar styloid is, and just pull that so they're sitting on top of each other. You can feel whether that's on top of the ulna or not, but the radius is superimposed over the ulna. Okay, and that's going to put the entire hand in a lateral position, minus the thumb, of course. And you can spray that out a little bit. Just make sure that the entire hand is in the light field. Okay, just like that. Wrist is in a nice lateral position. You got the tip of the finger all the way down to the radial ulnar carpal joint. Okay, now that is a spider lateral. That's the one I prefer. I feel like you can see a little bit more because it separates the fingers out. But you do it however you feel more comfortable. Now, in a perfect world, we would remove Kate's jewelry. And radiologists don't like jewelry for some reason. You know, it looks good on you, but for X-ray, shows up a little bit too good. So, anyway, so that is a finger and hand and a thumb in a nutshell. Okay, and we're going to be doing these going forward, one or two a week. We're going to do each body part and go through on positioning. We are also going to do some critiques. It's just going to be a little bit different this year. There is going to be all the positioning videos on the internet under the radiology page, so you guys can refer to that whenever you need to look and see how to position something. So it's pretty exciting. I hope everybody had a great Christmas, and I wish everybody a happy new year. And let's do this. Keep working hard, and let's get our licenses and move forward. A couple questions for you guys.